Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Doctor Strange spoilery review, so if you haven't seen the movie, there will be spoilers, but Earth has wizards now, so let's go. Thor has that great line at the end where he kind of becomes the proxy for the audience, where he's like, so Earth has wizards now? What? What's going on? But then sees the beer mug refill itself and decides that Doctor Strange is totally cool. So he's kind of like the proxy for the audience, like we're all looking at this going, this is kind of weird, but okay, yeah, this is cool. This is totally cool. So I will say Doctor Strange as a solo origin story is somewhere near the top of all the Marvel solo films so far. Now, I still feel like some of the best Marvel movies are not the origin story movies. Usually it's the second movie. Captain America Winter Soldier, still one of the best Marvel movies so far. So Doctor Strange isn't better than Winter Soldier, but that's just because it falls into a lot of the traps of traditional Marvel films and superhero films in general, where you have a lot of really awesome performances, but not really enough time to do all the characters justice. So usually character development is where big blockbuster movies fall down. So you have an underdeveloped villain, but you have a lot of great setup for Chiwetel Ejiofor's Baron Mordo so that they can do their Winter Soldier in their next movie. So that's why I think the next Doctor Strange movie will be an even better movie, or at least has potential to be a better movie. But the film itself, with the way it warps reality, the way they use magic, the way they visualize it, is a big push in a new direction for Marvel. So I give them big bonus points for trying something completely different, even if they do have some of the same trappings of Marvel films. You don't really understand what Caecilius' plan is if you're not a comic book person. The minute they start talking about the dark dimension, you see the Eye of Agamotto and he warps time with it, with the apple, you know exactly what's going on. But if you're not a comic book person, you might not make those connections, so your enjoyment of the movie hinges more on the actors' performances, which all are great. Mads Mikkelsen, amazing actor. Tilda Swinton, amazing actress. Benedict Cumberbatch, obviously great. Even Rachel McAdams in her small role is really good too. But I just felt like a lot of the missing scenes that helped develop Caecilius' character kept it from being an A+ movie. So I gave the movie, operating by itself, taking it as it is, an A-. But as a comic book person myself, just combing for Easter eggs, it was a definite A, especially for the experience of the roller coaster ride through the Marvel magical, mystical universe. And you may have recognized a little bit of Harry Potter in there with the way they tried to give some humor to the cloak of levitation, the wand chooses the wizard, the artifact chooses the wizard. So I feel like all that stuff totally worked. They had a couple nice, well-timed jokes. There were 3 really hilarious moments. 1, the cloak of levitation itself, the way they gave it personality in the scenes that it was in. 2, the Wong Beyonce joke. And then 3, Mads Mikkelsen's Mr. Doctor moment. I felt like he was a lot funnier as Doctor Strange than he was as Stephen Strange. The movie came alive when he became Doctor Strange, or when he was in the process of becoming Doctor Strange, but I think that was by design. It was meant to be that way. Kevin Feige said that the original Iron Man movie, very similar to the arc that Doctor Strange has in the comics, where an asshole doctor becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, who's still kind of an asshole, so they wanted to change that a little bit, so they weren't doing the exact carbon copy of that first Iron Man movie. So that is why early in the film, after he has his accident, he turns into a super asshole. They almost make him unlikable with the way he pushes Rachel McAdams' character away. You have to imagine, this would be like Tony Stark throwing a book or something at Pepper Potts. So they wanted to take Doctor Strange all the way to the bottom of human existence so that they could bring him all the way back up. It was a much bigger journey back up to the top. So I felt like that was successful, even if he's not quite as charismatic as Robert Downey Jr. But that, that's just the actor's performance, and a lot of that is built into the character. Doctor Strange, very different character from Tony Stark. Doctor Strange is more of this bookish librarian type, the way he just blows through stacks and stacks of books. Tony Stark is also very brilliant, but how often do you see him sitting there reading books? They definitely made an effort to give him this dry sense of humor that'll be interesting to see how he, reacts when he meets the other Avengers, because Tony Stark is Mr. Quip. He always has some funny way to make light of the situation. And Doctor Strange's thing is that he tries to make a joke, that almost intentionally falls flat in the comedy is in the awkwardness, the non-reaction that he gets from people. Like nothing, Beyonce, Adele, like that was what they were trying to do with that single name montage, and Wong is just sitting there. But I don't think it ever quite got to be as funny as, say, like Ant-Man or an Iron Man movie. Ant-Man was one of those like really small, but also kind of big movies. Doctor Strange is also like a really big, small movie, just because of the things that they're dealing with. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Yet another villain that they kind of brush over, but if you're a comic book person, you know exactly what's going on, so you just freak out. You're like, oh my god, they're finally doing this. It's amazing. But if visually the movie is an A+, like I said, the villain under development kind of hurt it just a little bit, which I think largely will not be an issue in the sequel because you already have Baron Mordo. You know exactly where he's coming from. Very clearly, he will be the Winter Soldier of the next movie. But it's a great first step into the mystic arts. You'll see a lot more of this in the Marvel Universe during Phase 3. Very clearly, Doctor Strange is going to be guest starring in Thor Ragnarok, probably other movies too, besides Avengers Infinity War. That's just the big one. But even if things like the humor didn't quite land, that I totally forgave them that for the other stuff they were doing. Like you hear Living Tribunal shout out, so you're just like, oh my god. So there were a lot of moments like that where you kind of get an idea for what's coming and how the way they visually did this is going to color the other Phase 3, Phase 4 movies. And obviously I'm going to be doing an Easter egg video that'll explain all that. There were a ton of Easter eggs, but the thing I'll tease you with going into that is Kevin Feige talking about how they're going to be mixing really small character-based team-up movies going forward, along with like the big Avengers huge movies. So what does that mean? It just means that every single sequel is not going to be like a big beam of light in the sky type of movie where there's some intangible, unknowable threat that is the villain of the movie. Like I think they saw Winter Soldier, how well that worked because of the character dynamics, and they're trying to do more movies like that, where it's not like constantly world-ending stakes. Like Civil War wasn't like a world-ending movie just because Thor wasn't there, Hulk wasn't there, nobody was threatening the Earth. It was just friend-on-friend violence. So Feige's telling us that there's going to be more movies like that mixed with the big Avengers films. They'll still be doing the huge Avengers films, but they recognize that they just can't keep getting bigger and bigger with every film. Like that's usually where you fail, is when you try to make films bigger and bigger and bigger. They just start to fall apart from the inside. So you guys can let me know, like, what did you think of Doctor Strange? And remember, this is a spoilery review, so feel free to go crazy with spoilers in the comments. Stuff you liked, stuff you didn't like, stuff you're super hype about. And just because people are still seeing the movie, I'll probably wait till Saturday to do my Easter egg video. But if you haven't seen it yet and you decided to watch this video anyway, I'd recommend you go see it in 3D just because of the way they warp space. It actually looks pretty cool. They have a cool explanation for how that works too. It's not something that everyone can do no matter what. But speaking of Marvel magic, there is an infamous Iron Man comic book video that I've been wanting to do that I haven't been able to get out. There's also some Legends of Tomorrow I'll be doing. And then obviously, more Avengers post Doctor Strange, Thor Ragnarok, bigger Marvel universe, so I'll try to post that through the rest of the weekend. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for like that big behind the scenes Thor Ragnarok video, and you can click here to learn how, executive infighting almost cost Civil War Spider-Man as well as Robert Downey Jr. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.
There are two types of beings in the universe.